Howdy, folks. My name is Richie Procopio, Senior Digital Marketing Specialist here at ArenaNet. Today, we have another very exciting live stream. We're going to be showing off what changes are coming to the Skimmer mount when Visions of Eternity, our next expansion, launches on October 28th. Can't even say the name of the month. It's only a couple weeks away. With me today is my good friend, Nick. Nick, why don't you tell the folks at home who you are and what you do here at ArenaNet?
Hi, my name is Nick, and I am indeed a good friend of Richie's. At ArenaNet in particular, though, I am currently the open world and skimmer design lead for Visions of Eternity, and what that means is that I'm kind of responsible for making sure like the maps are on track and doing a good job, outside of some like implementation, and then similarly with the skimmer, making sure it's on track as well, but also doing a lot of the core implementation for the updates. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on.
Sweet, and I see you have a little friend behind you.
I do.
What is that, and how did you get that?
This is a cute little skimmer that was given to us during our fan event that we had during PAX West, and it was from one of our players, and they were really excited by the skimmer, and so they made this cute little skimmer for us, and we thought, you know, what better way to thank them than to showcase and highlight its absolute adorableness to the world. So
And
they know who
everyone-
we've thanked them, but you know, I'll just reiterate, like, thank you again. It's adorable, and it protects our pod.
Everyone's
at
going to be
work.
like, how do we buy one?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to hop into game here and start showing off all the things for the skimmer. And there was a blog post that Nick wrote that went up on the website earlier this week. So check out guildwars2.com if you want to see a lot of what we're going to be sharing today in more detail. Today will be visual stuff, but if you need to reference stuff, the blog is always there. So we are going to show off the homestead map, which we did a stream with Sarah like 2 weeks ago where we showed off this map. So if you weren't there for that stream, this might be your first chance to see our new Commissas Isle homestead map. This is where you'll be able to decorate, and you know, you have your own magical island to explore, but we're going to use this as our first staging ground to show off the new skills for the skimmer. So real quick before we jump into that, anything you see today, there could be some balance tweaks and tuning. Things could be adjusted. You might see some temporary icons. So just keep all that in mind. I don't know if, Nick, you wanted to address that any further than I did, but
I mean, I think you did a great job, honestly. Like, yeah, you know, we're still balancing a lot of stuff. Some things you see here might be overtuned or undertuned, but it is wholly representative currently to the best of our capabilities of what we would like it to feel like when it actually ships. So, you know, we're still tweaking, changing some things, but what you see here hopefully is close to what will actually show up on live, unless we find a really bad exploit, and then we'll fix that.
yeah. So Nick has the base skimmer skin that is going to be used to show off a lot of things because most people are familiar with what that looks like. But I am sporting the Castoran Wavehawk model, which is going to be a new model that players can enjoy in the expansion. You can see it's a giant dragonfly insect type mount. Amazing job on the animations and the art on this. Really
Agreed.
awesome.
Yeah. Actually, shout out to the animation team for this one in particular as well. We, while we were going through it, one of the things that we were trying to figure out while making it is like, how can we make it feel distinct but also still read effectively? Because if you look at the way the skimmer actually animates, there's a lot of communication going on with it. And so what we did was we looked at a bunch of different animations from like the hummingbird and like the core skimmer mount skins, and we tried to pick and choose and kind of combine ones that we felt would best represent like something that is flying, right, fast flapping wings and giving you that dragonfly kind of flutteriness, while also still having animations that were still core to the messaging of what the skimmer actually is. So if you have the hummingbird skin, you might find some of these familiar, but there will also be ones that are a lot more familiar to the base level skimmer, just to make sure that we have an effective balance for those who, you know, kind of at least subconsciously are paying attention to those animation key markers for the skills.
Would you mind zooming in a little bit on the Skimmer? Since
Yeah.
you're the camera. There we go.
I am the camera. Yeah, I was doing a walkthrough earlier while you were talking. I was doing a little turnaround.
Okay, I didn't see that. I'm also dressed like a pirate because
You
today
are.
is Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yeah, are you gonna talk like a pirate for us, Richie?
Arr, and that's about
Arr.
it.
Yeah. I'm gonna nerd out real quick about Talk Like a Pirate Day, since this expansion, as you've probably seen in our trailers and stuff, like we're on an island. There are some pirate-esque individuals. We've got ships, so we figured it'd be good to kind of at least acknowledge like, hey, it's Talk Like a Pirate Day. But fun fact about Talk Like a Pirate Day, that's the accent that you hear in most movies and media isn't actually the way that pirates talked back in the olden days. It was coined by an actor in like the 1950s for the Disney movie called Treasure Island. And he was this British actor that was trying to find a good accent, and it just kind of was so prevalent and prominent that it stuck throughout all of media. But in reality, a lot of pirates, depending on where they were in the world, had their native dialect accents. So it's like if you're like individuals from the Caribbean that were pirates of the Caribbean, right? Like they probably had dialects more close to like their like Spanish heritage or English, depending on where they're from. Same with like pirates from Africa and things like that. They will have their native dialect accents. So it is cool, but I think it's also just a little fun fact for everybody.
I did not know that, but that totally makes sense. Absolutely. Like, why would all pirates from different places around the world talk the same?
Yeah, that's my little fun fact for the day.
All right. That's awesome. Let's talk about skimmers. You want to show off some of the abilities and talk through like what upgrades they're going to be getting when the expansion comes out?
Yeah, 100%. So I guess what I will note real quick is that we will be looking at the mastery lines in a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk everybody through what the abilities are themselves, and then we'll talk a little bit later about like when they get unlocked. So the order that we are communicating them now is not necessarily the order that you'll be acquiring them through the mastery line. But I will start out. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, you mentioned unlock. Why don't we start with how do you, like, there's going to be a new way to unlock these skimmers in the expansion, right?
Yes, yeah. So very similar to Jam Through Wilds and the Warclaw, you will need to go through the first parts of story to be able to introduce yourself into Castora, get into the map, and then at a certain point in story, you will be given the objectives to complete that will allow you to unlock the skimmer and its new mastery line. So we saw a lot of kind of positive reception and integration for the Warclaw and the way that we did with Jam Through Wilds, and so we figured it'd be good to just kind of follow suit with that, right? Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or whatever that saying is. And so similarly to Jam Through Wilds, that is the way that you'll be unlocking it this time around.
Okay, so even if you don't have Path of Fire and you do get Visions of Eternity, you can get the skimmer.
Correct. Yes.
Awesome. All right, go for it.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm going to start out with the one skill, which, as you'll probably notice for anybody who is very familiar with the skimmer, the icon is different, and that is because as a part of the mastery line, we are upgrading the barrel roll to what we call the enhanced barrel roll. And so previously, the way that barrel roll worked, it's a hard one, so I'm going to probably stutter on it a little bit. But the way that barrel roll previously functioned was if you were to click on it, you would dash forward and then dismount, healing anybody that you pass through. With the enhanced version, what we've done now is we've made it so that way you don't dismount and you can just keep hitting it and you will keep getting to use the dashes. We have added an endurance cost with that to kind of create some semblance of balance. So similar to the Warclaw bounce, which you'll notice down here, is that there are now segmentations on the endurance bar, and that's just to kind of showcase how much it will cost per dash. So a dash costs about a third of the bar, not counting for regeneration. If you time it pretty well, you'll be able to essentially get kind of 4 out in semi-quick succession. Yeah, that's pretty much the core of it. It will still do all of its healing through pass-through, but to kind of help make sure that this doesn't just become like the best healing thing ever, the healing does diminish every single time that a specific individual is hit by it. And so if one person is hit by the barrel roll like 3 times, the healing will decrease each time, the healing that is received by that individual. And then you're also probably wondering, well, where did the dismount portion of the skill go? How am I going to be able to get off my mount? We thought of that, and something that we've been thinking about in general with the skimmer is, you know, when you're looking at its core kit, something that is kind of centric to the skimmer is hold button to do thing, right? So the hover is a very kind of prominent part flavorfully and in general with the skimmer, right? You hold down spacebar or whatever you've rebound it to be able to hover for a little bit. And so we kind of took that core concept of the holding abilities to do specific things with the skimmer, and it added it to a couple of other skills. So now with the dash, if you hold down the one skill, what happens is that it will trigger the dismount portion of the skill, and then the player will be able to get off of it. And so what that kind of allows for is players to kind of play around with getting to specific areas while still being able to know when the right time is to hop off. And that's pretty much awesome. The core of it in terms of the enhanced barrel roll. It will still, if you have the Path of Fire masteries, it will still take the res consideration and the healing adjustments into fact as well. Same with the other mounts, like cross mount boons that you get from their masteries. Those things are also still factored into the engage skill.
Okay, does that scale with healing power of the player as well?
It does not. That was something that we talked a lot about, and the kind of the what's the best way to put this? The thing that we kind of fell upon and decided on is like, well, the skimmer is doing the damage, not you, and the skimmer is doing the healing, not you, and so it doesn't make as much sense if the player is like full heal kitted out, and then their skimmer does healing and damage through their own stats. I think on top of that, by having it holistically centric around flat damage values on the skimmer itself, that yields a better balance for everybody. And so if you are a DPS centric player, if you're a glass cannon or if you're playing a tank build, you still have the ability to be effective in the healing that you do with the skimmer. It's just an option for everybody as well, and there's not going to be a hard preference on who does it. It'll still probably be viable for healers that want to do it. It'll just be a part of their rotation kit, right? Like they blow all their cooldowns, they hop on the skimmer, they do a little bit more healing, they hop back down, their cooldowns are refreshed, right? So those are the kind of considerations that we had with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like what you were saying earlier, that holding down is a mechanic that's tied to the skimmer. And like just in our like rehearsals and stuff for the stream, it's really felt like it's kept its identity. And I love that the hold down a button, skimmer does something as a feature. It was well thought out. Love it.
Thanks. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of iteration and feedback on it, so I'm glad folks are liking it so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so next up is the what we call the Slipstream boost, which I've noticed from the blog post that a lot of people are really interested in. And this is, I think, where you're going to see a lot more of the quote-unquote evolution of the skimmer. And so what Slipstream boost does is it gives you a quick little speed boost on the skimmer for X amount of time, depending on your like mastery training and buffs and things like that. So as you saw, it gives you a temporary speed boost similar to what you'd get if you used like swiftness or super speed, but just with the actual mount itself. One addition to that, though, going back to the hold feature, right? If you use Slipstream boost while you are using hover high, it gives you the power to ascend even higher with the continued cost of the stamina depletion. And so what that allows for us to do, as you can see Richie up there, is give players the ability to kind of do a like vertical ascent with Skimmer, because Skimmer is kind of like the glider mount to a certain extent, right? So we wanted to be able to boost that functionality and that capability without it necessarily intruding upon the Sky Scales territory or the Griffin's territory, right? Because the Griffin is like fighter jet flying around, going through stuff, and the Sky Scale itself is like the helicopter. So this is kind of more like the like air glider, I guess is the best way to put it. But this also does work with the Bond of Vigor as an example, and so if I am doing this and I'm using that and then I just choose to use Bond of Vigor, as you can see, you can get some pretty significant height. And then what I like to do as well is get a little bit of hang time through like the dashes, because they do hold your Z position, keep hovering, right? And then that just allows you some pretty decent uptime. And it is holistically better on some maps than it is on others, but in reality, it's like, the goal here is to make sure that the skimmer feels kind of fluid and seamless. And so with a lot of islands, there is a lot of different kind of cliffside stuff and verticality, and so we figured that this would be a good way for players to be able to, like, you know, get up to higher areas without necessarily needing to swap out their mounts.
Or cling to a wall, or do all
Cling
those
to
other
a
things.
wall. Yeah.
We're gonna show off the skimmer and some other maps to show you like what it can do when you have the ideal circumstances and not ideal circumstances, and we'll do that in a little bit. But this is so much fun as the folks are already typing. Like it really is just a whole new experience, and I love how you threaded the needle between like not going into the Griffin and the Skyscale's terrain. It feels like an entirely different mount, and not technically flying, but certainly can get height. You scaled that entire house. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some maps we'll show earlier that like play to its strengths pretty well. Depending on where you start, you can get some serious hang time. But stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much Slipstream boost in general. What I also note as well is that it works underwater as well. And as a part of base skimmer, when the base skimmer is riding on water, it increases its base movement speed. And so that is just kind of a natural thing that happens with skimmer. But if you use Slipstream boost as a part of it as well, you get even, like, that speed boost is added on top of the already existing speed boost that you get underwater and while riding on water. And so this allows you pretty fast traversal through water spaces, which I think is pretty great. You also probably saw a little stealth thing that happened there. That is a part of the mastery lines that we've added as a sort of flavorful addition when moving between the above space into water and from water up to the air area. As a kind of like evolutionary trait that is like narratively a part of the Wavehawk. But on top of that, part of it was also because we were getting feedback from individuals that like the transition between water and land can sometimes be fraught with danger, right? Because you don't necessarily know what creatures are going to be standing above land or what creatures are going to be in water when you go through them. And so this was just kind of a nice little way that we could give additional benefit to those who have the dive in both sides. In Path of Fire and here, as well as kind of like, what's the best way to put this? Give a little bit more space in that, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Gotcha. Getting a question in the chat: Does the speed of the skimmer get impacted by swim speed infusion?
It does not currently. So similar to the heal stats, like any of the player's stats and infusion stuff does not get affected by skimmer because it is the skimmer itself that is utilizing these speed boosts and these stats. So like the mounts follow a completely different movement system than players do, and so there's not really a clean way to be like, I've got like a +9 swim speed infusion, so that will increase the skimmer's speed by X, right? But that's not to say that like if you have the swim speed infusions that you are just kind of going to be left behind. Like there are quite a few areas in Castora where swimming is going to be more beneficial than using the skimmer, and having those swim speed boosts will really have kind of like a feel impact, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah. And just we are keeping an eye on chat for questions, so feel free to post them. We won't get to all of them, but if we see one that we want to call out, we will indeed try to answer it.
All right, moving on to the 3 skill. So as people have read, this skimmer is now a combat mount and a part of that exclusive club with the Warclaw and Skyscale and the Siege Turtle. And so as a part of that, right, the Wavehawks on Castora were creatures that needed to evolve to kind of survive a more hostile environment. And so one of the ways that we felt we can kind of blend that with the combat mounting kit is by giving them what folks internally call the Pew Pew skill. And so the way that the Pew Pew skill works, which in reality it's called water jets, is that if you click it, it will shoot 2 water jets towards your target. If the target is an enemy, it will damage them. If the target is an ally, it will heal them. This homestead map is not really conductive towards being able to demonstrate the healing or the damage because it's like a nice vacation beach house. There's not any real threats here. And so when we move on to the next map, I'll showcase that a little bit more. But the damage and healing functionality of it, but in reality, it's mainly just like you shoot and it's cool. One additional note I will communicate as well is going back to that theming that we were talking about around the hold skill and the theme in Skimmer in general. 3 skill also does that, where if you hold it down, it will continue to fire the jets up to the maximum ammo count that you currently have. And so what that allowed for us to do is really give players the ability to, like, you know, hop on their Skimmer and potentially take down a minor threat while they're moving through water or land spaces, and or heal allies in a pinch. And so that's pretty much the core goal of this, is essentially to make sure that individuals have the ability to heal their friends, damage their enemies. One additional note that I'll give on this as well is that, let's see if I bound it correctly. Yep. All right. This does function with action camera. Similar to Skyscale, though, there is kind of like a cone range for the Skimmer. So if you try to shoot it behind you, as you'll see, it's just going to hit the edge of its effective cone. But while you're using the Skimmer, it will shoot in the direction that you are choosing if you do not have a pre-selected target. Also, if you do not have a pre-selected target, actually, no, I didn't mean to dismount. You can fire it in specific directions depending on where your mouse is, which I think is pretty neat. Let me give myself back more ammo. And so as you can see, there's just kind of like a little bit of variety in the way that you can engage with utilizing this skill. And the main reason that we wanted to do that was to give different players who are utilizing the Skimmer kind of ways that they can approach any scenario that is more potentially catered towards their wanted play style, whether they are using action camera, tab targeting, or point and click.
That's awesome. And the maximum ammo is 10 on
yes, that? It is. Yes, it is currently 10.
And somebody's asking, can you fire damage and heal underwater?
Yes. These skills work on ground, in air, and underwater. The whole kit for Skimmer works in all spaces.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it for the main 3 skills. As you can see up here, there are 2 additional skills. There is the famous leyline riding, right? And so what we've done with Castora is we've given the Skimmer, now that it has a bit more of an ability to enter and fly through airspaces, we just wanted to give it a little bit of the same playing field as the Skyscale and the Griffin. And so now the Skimmer has the ability to ride ley lines and updrafts. One additional note is that, similar to Skyscale and Griffin, we wanted to make sure that players had a way of being able to break out of the ley line if they wish. And so the way that the 1 skill works now, you have the ability to use your 1 skill's dash to break out of the ley line. And that's just to give people a little bit more of an option in terms of like how they want to approach riding these things. One additional note that I will add is that as a part of the blog post, you might have also noticed we mentioned the words underwater ley lines. And that is because with this functionality, right, and with the kind of rich ley magics that come with Castora, we wanted to find ways to kind of allow that to function well in all spaces. And so yeah, we've introduced underwater ley lines throughout Castora, and as you can see, they're a great way to kind of navigate through spaces, get some additional speed and direction within underwater, and transition between underwater and above water states. And yeah, thankfully, this amazing homestead that the homestead team did a great job on has ley lines that allow us to demonstrate this. Because, I do apologize to anybody who wanted to see the maps as a part of this, or potentially were hoping that they'd see the maps as a part of this. Those are spaces that we want to make sure are left to surprise and delight as people reach them on October 28th when it ships.
Yep. And if anybody didn't watch our homestead live stream from 2 weeks ago and are curious to see this map that we're currently on, like toured in detail, you can check out our Twitch VOD or our we have a YouTube video that basically covers that whole stream. So if you're watching us talking about the skimmers and going, but I want to see this map, we did that 2 weeks ago. You can go check it out after the stream.
Yeah, shout out to Sarah Davies. She did an amazing job with you, Richie, on all of that as one of the Homestead team. Yeah.
She took over the stream. It was great.
Yeah, and what I will also note here for the ley line real quick is that it follows the same preferential settings as the Sky Scale and the Griffin. And so if you were to like swap to the Sky Scale, if you had disabled ley line gliding because you just don't want to deal with it right now, it will carry over between each of the mounts as well.
Nice.
And then if you enable it, it will be enabled similarly. So yeah, it's just a neat little touch that we tried to keep consistent. Yeah, that's pretty much ley line.
It's in a question a bunch of times. Does the water jets do siege damage?
They currently do not. So we did not want, like, that's something that I wouldn't say necessarily decided against, but like it doesn't necessarily fit the theme of the skimmer, and there's and it could potentially take away from the usage of the Sky Scale, the Warclaw, and the Siege Turtle. And so since Siege doesn't really exist on Castora, we felt that like it'd be better to kind of allow the core niche of the skimmer to be around kind of amphibious traversal and kind of, what's the best way to put it? Like it's not amphibious in like action, but having the ability to do both damage and healing. It's a very like well-rounded mount, but we don't want it to become like the mount, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's an option that we didn't include as a part of this.
I like the care that the design teams put into making sure that each mount, as we've been touching them over the past few expansions, like, you know, improves and becomes more fun, but also doesn't become like dominant in every area. We want our, you know, array of mounts to each have things that it's best at and things that it's, you know, not as good at, and so that players, you know, feel compelled to actually use all their mounts instead of just sticking to one favorite one.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we want to make sure that they all get some love, and we don't want anyone to be like the one true mount.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else skill related?
There is this one other one that you can see here called echolocation. This one I think might be better suited to walk through a little bit later, because echolocation doesn't work in homestead maps. So that's something that we could showcase in the next map that we move to. But the high level of echolocation is that, very similar to the Warclaw Sniff, the skimmer has, or the skimmers in Castora have a way to echolocate, if that makes sense. And so the way that it works out is that this one is a toggle, whereas the Warclaw Sniff is a like click on cooldown. And the main reason that we chose to make this one a toggle is because like echolocation in and of itself is a sort of, I wouldn't say holistically passive system, but it's like, it is something that most aquatic animals are using pretty consistently. And also, we noticed with players with the Warclaw, we're just kind of hitting the button on cooldown. It's like, well, let's save your mouse or your keyboard some clicks, right? If you're just going to keep clicking it on cooldown anyways. And that also allows for the focus to be more on exploration and kind of the utilization of your traversal skills, since a lot of it is based around kind of hold, rather than being like, okay, I need to walk here, hit this button, wait for the cooldown, walk over here, hit this button, wait for the cooldown. So yeah, we'll showcase that in a second.
Awesome. Yeah, Aeroth in chat says, my fingers thank you.
Your fingers are welcome.
All right. All right, so I think you want to talk about masteries before we switch maps?
Yes, yeah, that's probably what everybody's wondering, right? So let me hit that and go to here and this one. So the overall line is called Skimmer Adaptation, and it breaks down into essentially 4 different tiers. First one is called Advanced Hydrodynamics, and this is where you're going to be acquiring the dive as well, because something that we noticed with the Path of Fire version is like we wanted to make the skimmer focal for Castora, and we wanted to give it a little bit more life underwater. But part of the problem with the Path of Fire mastery line, not necessarily a problem, but just one of the hurdles with it, is that you don't get dive until the very end of the mastery line, which you have to invest a lot of time and effort to get through it. And so we were like, well, we feel like dive is a core part of the skimmer, and it's really what makes it feel unique. And so we were like, okay, we're just going to give this from the start to individuals, and for those who already have the Path of Fire version, we're going to give them a little bit extra just to make sure that they don't feel like, that they lost out if they had just waited a little bit. And so the additions that you get for it on top of the base dive skill is that you will get a base movement speed increase up to the same rate as like Raptor and Jackal, because the skimmer previously was the slowest base speed mount. And so what we figured is like, well, since we are adding in all of these kind of speed centric things, we wanted to at least put it on the same level playing field as other base mounts. And so that's just a little like, hey, let's give you a speed boost to get you up to that baseline. And then on top of that, as you saw earlier, we're giving away the stealth on transition between water above and below. But yeah, so that's pretty much advanced hydrodynamics in general. Then we move on to Castor and Intuition, and this is where you're going to be seeing the enhanced barrel roll coming into play, as well as your Aether location. And this is where like you will now be able to utilize your Aether location for content, for finding rewards and just exploring. And also you will be able to utilize your enhanced barrel roll as a way to kind of help you through your journey and taking that familiar concept you already have of your engage and kind of beginning to pull you towards the new features that are coming with the skimmer. After that is the Convergent Evolution, which is essentially where you will be unlocking both your Slipstream boost and your water jets at the same time, and that's just to now give you the ability to kind of expand upon your movement and give you a little bit more of that vertical play, as well as now give you the ability to do additional healing and damage to allies and enemies. And then lastly, we've got Riptide Rider is what we call it, which is essentially the one that unlocks Leylands and Updrafts. Leylands and Updrafts inherently are very rewarding and useful traversal tool across all maps. And as we've seen previously, right, like it's a very high value mastery. Like you get it at the end of like flight, at the end of gliding, and so we didn't want to necessarily take away from that because of the fact that it is like it has inherent value across all maps. And so we figured that having that be the last one just kind of felt right, and it felt like by that point you will have hopefully a good understanding of how to utilize this entire kit, so it just is a bonus to all of that, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire mastery line. One thing that we really wanted to do here is allow more space for other masteries to also get their investment in as well, and so that's one of the main reasons we stuck to 4 masteries instead of 5, right? Like, we just kind of want to get them in your hands and get you to have fun with them, because we know one of the core distinctions between Janthe Wilds and Visions of Eternity or Secrets of the Obscure is that you kind of just had the skills from the start with the Warclaw, and then everything that you got additionally were just enhancements. And so it was like, well, you know, a good way that we can kind of make sure that players are getting this into their hands as quickly as possible is just like, let's make each tier feel really rewarding and kind of like the next step in evolution of your experiences with the skimmer.
Awesome.
Cool.
Great.
And that's the mastery line in general. I'm going to take a quick water break because hydrating is important.
You've been talking a lot there, so
talking so much.
Up. I'm answering a question that we already covered. The water jets do work above and underwater. You can shoot the water jets underwater.
Yes, yeah. Let me visualize that for y'all as well, just as a good way to kind of showcase that, like, yeah, all skills work above and below water. Yep. So you can. One of the main goals as well was like. We know that there is, we've gotten a lot of player feedback throughout the years about how kind of water combat can sometimes be frustrating, and we understand that like one of the main reasons for that is because if you're trying to get from point A to point B, it's a lot harder in water spaces to be able to kind of grasp the potential hostile threats or ecology around you, because On land, it's like all you really have to worry about is like your X and Y planes, because it's like more often than not, the enemies are always going to be on the same visual level as you. Whereas like in water, you've got that Z-axis to worry about as well, and so there's just they could be anywhere, they could be coming from anywhere, and it just makes traversal as well a bit more difficult. And so initially, one of the goals with the 3 skill was just to kind of like give you an option for Skimmer that allows you to just kind of get small threats out of the way, so that way you can just keep on keeping on, as they say, in the water. And that just kind of evolved naturally as we kind of progressed through the development and playtesting and feedback.
Awesome. All right. I think we're ready to move to another map, show off some echolocation, and we're also going to start showing off, like we mentioned earlier, that there are certain maps that the Skimmer works really well at, and you can really do some fun things with it. And Lowland Shore happens to be one of those maps, so we're gonna do some things over here.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna start off in the moon camp, and yeah, this is one of the things I was talking about, where it's like depending on where you kind of start out, you'll be able to get some serious hang time. So it's like let's just I don't know, let's have some fun with it.
Yes. The first time we rehearsed for the stream and you brought me here and we were on the Skimmer, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
I mean, what I will say is that like it's not going to be the best everywhere, and I'll go into a little bit more later, but there are some hard limitations with the way that the Skimmer works that will cause it to be like just not a great option at all on some maps. But luckily you have other options like the Skyscale and the Griffin for those maps, so they are kind of good spaces to be able to show the kind of the difference in effectiveness, efficacy, I don't know, or English is hard, but and the usefulness of those other ones. But as you can see, like if you know how to use the hover pretty well to kind of maintain your height, and you're playing well with your endurance bar, like you can keep in the air for quite a while. And then yeah, here, let me showcase
the magic carpet ride.
Essentially, yeah. And yeah, as you can see here, like it does use up drafts too, which makes things real useful. Because of the speed boost, it does take a minute to turn, right? Like one of the things that like we want to make sure that these things aren't also like just absolutely broken, and so there is a little bit of a learning curve with the use of the Skimmer as well, because of the fact that when you get that speed boost, you're going to it's going to be a little bit like trying to control a glider, right? And so it's like you do have to kind of, there's a bow in the way that you turn. It's not just going to be like an immediate like snap, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so Lowland Shore is also one of the maps that echolocation does work on. The way that we kind of put it is that one of the feedbacks that we had kind of noticed with the Warclaw is that like some people had wished that they would just kind of work on any open world map so they could really feel rewarded in that exploration, and that's something that we tried to solve for with the Skimmer in particular. We kind of developed a new secondary system that works really well underwater, where we were able to kind of allow for spawning to exist on any open world map that has enough water, the keywords there being enough water. And so what you'll be able to do, right, whether it be in Corteria, any of the expansion maps, or really anywhere, right?
Wayfarer, is it?
Oh no.
Sorry, what's that? Most bearkin won't dip a claw in these waters.
We're getting telecom calls here.
Yep. But so the way the echolocation essentially works to the player is like you can activate the sonar, like I said, as a toggle, and every 3-ish seconds you'll just see this cute little pulse coming from you. And similar to the Warclaw, the way it works out is like as you're exploring, it will be able to detect potential echolocation specific rewards within the area, And so it is a little bit hard for me to find in this time because you know, the goal here is to have people kind of exploring all of the oceans of Tyria, and so we want to make it not too obvious. But for the sake of time, what I can do is I can actually spawn one of the chests, so we can see kind of how that works in action.
We cheat for our loot.
Yes. Let's see. Okay. So, the way that it works is like essentially, you know, you're going around, and then you will end up hitting. Like, it'll give you this notification that says like your skimmer has detected something of value nearby, and then what you can do when that happens is just kind of look around, right? And you'll see that like the thing of value will have a little return pulse, and then you can loot it. And it will progress some achievements and things like that that we've also added to kind of give a little bit more incentive and tracking for the exploration that you would be doing across Tyria. But also, this is a good time to showcase as well the water jet's power as well. Since we're now on a map. Costumes. Yes, and so the way that these skills work out is that depending on your positioning, these missiles do piercing. And so I'm going to target that jellyfish and then just kind of shoot at it. And if I angle myself well, which, you know, hard skill issue, you will be able to see that it penetrates through and it will hit multiple things. And depending on who it hits, it will do healing or damage. And so there, I was able to shoot multiple of the enemies and also heal you depending on my angling and my shooting. As you can see, it is a little bit more difficult than water, but that's mainly because of the Z-axis considerations as well. But so as you can see, Richie, I'm sorry, I'm going to cheat and set you on fire.
Okay, that's fine. All in day's work. I'm on fire. I have
You're very much on fire.
Yeah.
Yep. And so what you can see here is that like the way that it works out is that a full like a full run of your ammunition will heal about like 10k. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, maybe closer to 12. But like I said, these things are still being balanced. And one thing I will also note is that depending on who your target is, the amount of healing can change. And so let's just say that I was targeting Richie, but there was another player in the middle of us. That other player will also get healed, but just for a lesser amount. And that lesser amount, depending on target, also applies to enemies as well. And so if you're aiming for somebody in the back line, the missile will pierce all the way to them, but everybody hit in between will be receiving less damage. And that's just, once again, to make sure that balance-wise we are being kind of effective in ensuring that this mount doesn't become the like end-all be-all of usage. And so like you will be doing less damage overall depending on if you hit things in between, but that also allows for some interesting gameplay where you can kind of be really considerate about your positioning when you're utilizing these skills, both with the barrel roll and with the water jets. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything for either location as well. Like I said, it's a toggle. There will be chests spawned in the oceans around Tyria, and hopefully this will encourage exploration throughout all the oceans and collaboration, because similar to the Warclaw chests, once one person finds it, everybody else that has a location will be able to find it too. And so, you know, the kind of hope there is that people are working together to really find the most reward out of this mechanic.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned this, but just to reiterate, there are going to be some achievements and stuff for Aether location,
yes,
treasure detection. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not going to show them off because spoilers in other spaces, yeah. But yes, we do have achievements to encourage usage and kind of track investment.
Yeah, and the heal you were doing to me, I noticed I was actually down for a minute there. You were able to heal me from downstate, right?
Potentially. It says we should. So. This is something that I don't actually remember. If you here, I'm sorry, Richie.
Oh, good.
Oh wait, no. Actually, you will need to hurt your you will need to be the one to put yourself in downstate. I can't actually do that.
Okay. All right, here we go. Let's just use Mr. Basilisk here and see. I think that's what you did though when I was underwater. I was actually down when you started healing.
Potentially.
Yeah, let's see.
You need to be not as good at living. How am I the one that's getting more molly up than you right now? You're trying to go down.
Come on. It's because I'm a Nord.
It's because no, it's because you're a warrior and you've got healing signet on.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't change it. I'm in combat.
That's fair.
Here we go. Downstate.
Nope, not yet.
Are you kidding me? The thing aggroed on you.
Just die. Please go down. We've only got so much time.
This is
I don't
want to
have to. I don't want to have to set you on fire again. Okay, there we go.
I'm down. Here we go.
Let's see. Oh.
Yeah,
So,
it does actually.
It does, yeah. One thing I'll note is that there is currently a bug with positioning that, depending on where you are, it might hit the ground and then kind of destroy the missile. That is something that we're going to fix before ship. So yeah, if you're like above the target and they're like flat on the ground, there's like a small chance that, as you saw there, the heal might not register because it hits the ground before it hits you. But that's something that we're going to fix. Yeah, so there you go. It works on downstate. Similar to the dash also works on downstate, which is something that was a part of the core.
Yeah, that's
but
already.
yeah, I think that's pretty much it for both the masteries and the skills, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about why Skimmer for this expansion?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it...
Out here to take care
Sorry,
of that
give me a
beast.
second. How about this? Why don't we move to the last map while I talk about that?
Okay.
Because I do not...
Want to keep getting calls?
Yeah. But I'm also trying to remember the name of the map that we're going to without opening the map.
Bloodstone Fen.
I'm talking about like the internal name. Richie, could you go to Bloodstone Fen and I'll teleport to you?
I am there. You can teleport.
Okay, cool. Because I want to make sure that I don't accidentally spoil the where Castora actually is, because that would not be good.
Makes sense.
But yeah, so like Bloodstone Fen is a place that we figured would also potentially work because it's just got so many leylands and updrafts that it's like, yeah, you just, go around, have fun with it. And there's also a lot of verticality there too. But yeah,
to your playground with Skimmer.
It is one of them, yeah. But yeah, going back to what you were talking about, or the question that you had asked earlier around like why Skimmer, I think, with each of our mounts, the things that we try to keep track of are like acquisition and playtime. And so something that we had noticed with the Skimmer is that it is one of the most acquired mounts in Guild Wars, right? Like it's up there with the Raptor and the Springer. And so we wanted to kind of figure out, well, it doesn't have, like, while it is one of the most acquired mounts, it's one of the least utilized mounts. And so we just kind of thought that it would be a good time, right, especially as we're moving to like an island space where people are going to get to explore an island that's rich with water and ley magic. That'd be a good time to kind of take a look at how to improve the Skimmer to give it a little bit more usability and make it a bit more viable of an option for individuals who were like wanting to use it but felt like it didn't serve a strong enough purpose compared to other mounts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of those like serendipitous things where it's a good mount to focus on for those reasons, but also really fit the setting.
Yes. Yeah, we got real lucky there. Yeah, I'd say like that's pretty much the core reason. I think that, and everything that's come from that too, are just mainly like, one of the things that we've been trying to do is just make sure that, like, similar to the Warclaw and Janther Wilds and the Skyscale in Soto, that like these do feel like they are an effective and really like well-utilized tool in the maps of the expansion that they're associated with. And so like, Castora's got a lot of water, it's got a lot of like magic and ley magic, and so this was just a great opportunity for us to kind of blend those two together, both the mount and the map gameplay, because they already work so well hand in hand together. And hopefully people will like it. We do, but you know, I'm excited to see what players think of it when the game ships on October 28th.
On October 28th, yes. Did we mention it was October 28th?
Oh, we did now.
Just a couple weeks. Yeah, the oh my god, my brain totally blanked there.
It's okay.
We've been showing a couple of maps where the skimmer kind of excels, and like I said, this is kind of like a playground with all the ley lines and such like that. Do you want to talk about the other end of the spectrum, some of the limitations?
I sure do. Yeah. Because one of the things, yeah. So let's move on to one more map. So we've seen on Lowland Shore and Bloodstone Fen kind of the bounds of potential usage on the upper end for the skimmer of like in these areas is going to work hopefully really well for you and you're going to really like it. But there are some maps where we found that like, oh, it just doesn't. It's just not hitting where we want to hit. And we kind of like figured that like that might be okay. And I will show you why in a second. All right, so we're going to be moving over to Amnytas.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go a little bit into the background of how Skimmer works versus Skyscale and Griffin. Richie, apologies. Can you remind me, did we want to show the problem and then discuss why it exists? Or did we want to discuss why it exists and then show the problem? I guess it's not really a problem, but, you know, the limitation.
Yeah. I don't know. Which way do you think would be better? I think...
I mean, we're already we're about to be in Amnytas. I guess so because we're already in Amnytas, I will showcase it first, and then we can hop over to the doodle space, and
okay.
I can like
we're
explain why. Yeah. So the way that Skimmer currently works is that it hovers, right? Like it looks at its ground position, and then it is like, cool, I'm going to boost myself up, right? Versus Griffin and Skyscale, which are a bit more like I am flying, and depending on my mechanic, I am taking into consideration my like aerial world state versus different energy types. And so what ends up happening with the Skimmer is that like in maps where there is no ground, right, you naturally don't really, like, your hover will sustain, but it will never lift you, and like you can still use updrafts and ley lines, but in terms of like the actual slipstream boost giving you that vertical height gain, or just naturally the hover giving you that natural height gain, it doesn't, because there is no ground in these maps, right? And so it's like the Skimmer is not built to fly through the sky like a bird, right? The Skimmer is built to boost from kind of base level areas. And so as you can see here, right, like the Skimmer doesn't really gain as much height gain in these maps. And one of the things that like we were kind of thinking through it, and we were looking at, well, how can we actually make this work if we can? And what we kind of fell upon was ultimately that to make it work in these very specific maps for Secrets of the Obscure would cause a pretty significant rebuild on the back end for Skimmer that might actually take away some of its core theming and functionality with hover.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is one of the areas where it's like, yeah, the Skimmer, I think it's okay if it doesn't work as well in Amnytas or Skywatch Archipelago, because of the fact that like these maps were built for the Skyscale and Skyscale utilization as well as Griffin. And so if you want to challenge yourself and try to use the Skimmer in these maps as a quote-unquote flying mount, you're welcome to try, but it does still work very well in all of the ground spaces in Amnytas. So I'm not saying that it's useless here, because as you can see here, right, like you can still get some pretty significant ascent. You can climb those stairs pretty darn well. And you will still have access to all of the like healing and damage that is associated with this. but it's just the flying element that's like, yeah, it doesn't really pair well with no ground maps currently.
I actually like it a lot because it drives home that fact that it is not a flying mount. You know, it is a gliding mount, and you do have a lot of verticality that you can upgrade into when you get Visions of Eternity. But if you don't have a ground beneath you, then it doesn't work. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and then like I think you touched on part of the core hope there, which is like it's meant to feel more like a hover type and a glider, and it's like, you know, with gliders it's a little bit more difficult to ascend, and it's really dependent upon where you are based off of your like ground position. And so I think that hopefully players are accommodating, I guess, in that space. And I can, if you want, I can talk through a little bit of how it functions on the back end and kind of why this limitation exists.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed when you ran me through this, like explaining it to me. So I'm sure the folks at home would like to see it.
Cool. Yeah. Apologies in advance for the nerd talk. It's about to get very nerdy in here. But okay, I've got the powerful paint tool here, and you're going to see a lot of doodling. And so the way that Griffin and Skyscale works, right? It's like we'll do S for Skyscale, we'll do G for Griffin, and we'll do oh no, Skimmer all starts with an S. Sure, A. Why not?
No, I said K.
K. Okay. Well, shows how well I hear. K for Skimmer. So the way that Skyscale works is essentially it takes its current position in the world, and it's like, hey, if you want to go up, like, you can only go up X amount, dependent upon your stamina bar and dependent upon that additional bar that is your essentially like height gain bar. The way that Griffin works is like I mostly care about my velocity and also like my velocity and also how much like lift I can get. So Griffin is like, if you start up on this cliff and then you fly and then you decide to dive, depending on like your velocity, you'll swing back up and you can like once again, depending on that velocity, get some height back. Whereas Skyscale is very much like, cool, I can start down here and I can fly up and I can get to about here, but if I use Bond of Vigor or if I find a wall, right, like I can hit that wall and then I can get back some of my stuff, and then it allows me some of my bar, that thing right there, and then I can choose to launch back off and fly up a little bit higher, right? So and or right, I can just go directly up to whatever that max value is, dependent upon, once again, those bars. So that is how it works with Skyscale and Griffin. Goodbye. And so now I'm going to describe how it works with Skimmer. So the way that Skimmer works with its hover is that Skimmer cares about where it is in relation to the ground. And so at all times, Skimmer is hovering X height above the ground. And the way that hover high works is that it takes that X value and it adds like a multiplier. So it's like, I'm going to do the little dot multiplier. So like X multiplied by Y, right? So hover high, like hover pushes X to like let's just say that like X was like 90, it'll push it to like 180, and then hover high will push it to like 2 something. What we've done with Slipstream Boost is we have taken the knob on the proverbial amp, and we didn't just crank it to 11, we like broke it. We were just like, yeah, you know what? let's do exponential multiplication here and see how that works out. And so what that is allowed for is for us to take the Skimmer's kind of hover and just crank it. And so it's like now, whereas like when you were doing your hover high, you'd be able to get to like here or here. Now, while that is active, it's like you can just go right up. And then because of the way that the hover works and the dash works, you can maintain that aerial amount until you're out of your stamina bar. And then you can just kind of start drifting back down, which, you know, Skimmer also has a lower descent rate. So hopefully that allows, like, the core hope of the gameplay there is that it like allows you to like, you know, kind of act like a glider that gives you some self-boosting. But yeah, so what that means, once again, is like if there is no ground, X is 0, and you can't, it doesn't matter how much you multiply by 0, 0 is like 0 times 30 is 0. So that's really one of our core limitations. And like I said, we looked into potentially making it work similar to the Skyscale or the Griffin, who have true flight, but that just didn't really like it made the Skimmer not feel like the Skimmer, and it took away a lot of its kind of like core fun, if that makes sense, and challenge. So yeah, that's a very long-winded way of saying it's this way on purpose. Sorry.
Well, thank you for nerding out for us. I actually like that decision a lot. Like I said, it makes it feel like what it is. It's a hover mount. And yeah, you've turned that dial up with the Slipstream, but yeah, if you go to a map that has no floor, you're going to slowly float down like a glider. Whereas other maps, you can, fully soar a lot easier. So, all right. Can you believe an hour has gone by?
Has it really been an hour? Wow.
It's been a full hour.
I know that you did want there to be some Q&A, so I am comfortable staying for a little bit longer. I can't stay forever because, we are still working on stuff and we do have a expansion to ship and we're close. Yeah. But take more time.
Throw any questions you have in the chat. We'll try to get to some of them. Real quick, where are you in the game? Oh, you're underwater. I was going to say, let's show off be the camera and show off the mount that skin that I'm on. This is one of our pre-purchase rewards for the deluxe edition or the ultimate edition of Visions of Eternity. This is a skimmer skin that's like a jellyfish. It is really cool, and the dye channels on this thing are wild. Like you can get some translucent dyes. It's really fun. But make sure you go over to guildwars2.com if you want to purchase or pre-purchase Visions of Eternity, and all the pre-purchase rewards are in a handy-dandy little video over on our YouTube channel if you want to take a view of that.
Yeah, I actually have. Oh, sorry. Please finish. Apologies.
No, I was done.
All right. What I was gonna say is that there's actually a funny story in how we chose the jellyfish too. So as a part of trying to figure out what the new skimmer skin would be, we had our amazing concepting team, shout out to them, they've done just an absolutely amazing job with all of them. Like they had done a bunch of different concepts of creatures that we could potentially make the variant for Castora, similar to how we did the cute, fuzzy Janthery Warclaw versus like the armored one that's a little bit more like aggressive looking. And while we were trying to figure out which ones we would end up choosing, we were doing votes. And essentially what happened was that everybody was like, oh, so the dragonfly is probably the right option, but the jellyfish is so cool. And so what ended up happening is that enough people like the jellyfish as well enough that we were just like, you know what? Here you go. Commerce team was like, yeah, we'll take that. And we'll make that one the pre-purchase bonus. So yeah, shout out to the concept team. They did an absolutely amazing job on both. And it was it ultimately stemmed from this just conflux of this one's so cool, but that one's so cool. So let's just give them both.
Yes, why not both? Exactly.
Yeah.
Love it. Can you mount while falling?
Yes, that was actually that's another great call out and something that I missed. So one piece of feedback that we had gotten with the skimmer as well is that sometimes if I want to dismount while I'm doing the gliding, it can be a little hard to do the so you can dismount in air using the one skill, but we had gotten feedback that it sometimes is a little difficult because if I wanted to land right here, if I'm not really expert with it, I might end up landing over there because the dash is a dash, right? And so what we did to kind of accommodate that was okay, well, if you are willingly choosing to dismount, the X dismount skill also will allow you to dismount. What I will also add though, sorry, one second, let me turn back on the light. One other thing to note though as well is that you cannot mount the skimmer in air, so you can only dismount in air. And the main reason for that is that we didn't want to take away from the flight mastery line that you get with the sky skill in Soto, right? And so in that line, it gives you there are masteries associated with being able to mount in midair. And so we decided, like, well, let's make sure that the skimmer, like, that's not something that we can fit into our mastery line. So we'll leave it to those two to once again kind of allow that distinction in the options that you're choosing within any given moment. So if you are fast enough, like, yeah, you can like use the skimmer, quickly swap over to the do a drop, glide, swap over to sky scale while you're in the air, and then like gain some ascent. And we think that encouraging that type of gameplay by just kind of not giving every option to one mount allows for some pretty flexible use of each mount and some dynamic traversal options.
Awesome. Similar question, mounting the skimmer in combat? Yes, yes?
Yes, so that is another great catch. Thank you so much, Richie. The skimmer can be mounted in combat. That is something that we mentioned on the blog post, and is good to go over a little bit more here. So the way that it works out, is that, sorry, Doe, I'm going to use you as a test example. Nope, dang it, too strong.
You murdered?
I murdered an innocent creature. It's okay. So as you can see here, the Doe and Fang Deer are attacking me, and I can indeed mount up in combat. And one of the main reasons that we decided to do that as well is because right now there is no solid combat mounting option underwater. And so we figured, well, if we should give combat mounting to the skimmer because it's meant to be this like really sleek flowing creature, and we can't just be like, well, if we're gonna give it to you underwater but not above ground, so we just gave it to them in general. One thing to note though, as you can see here, is that there is a combat mounting recharge increase, and what we've done is essentially we've taken the Warclaw's combat mounting cooldown system and we have applied it to the skimmer as well. Mainly because of the fact that this is something that you're just going to get on all skimmers regardless of mastery line. Like, it's just a core addition that we gave, similar to the Warclaw. And so the way that we had to kind of set up this system to make sure that it's balanced and not exploitable is they share that cooldown deprecation buff system. So if you were to hop into combat with your skimmer and then dismount and then hop into combat with your Warclaw is taking into consideration that same buff that you got from the skimmer, and that's just to make sure that people, like, you know, that we're not allowing for potential exploiting through the usage of those mechanics. So just one more time, they share the same cooldown mechanic, essentially. Instead of just on the Warclaw now, it is both of them using the same thing.
Sense. Can we swap back to the homestead map?
Yep.
It's taking the lights out on us.
It has taken lights on us, yes. And also it is very beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Question about like what's considered a floor. Do big water areas count as a floor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything. So water counts as a floor. Ground counts as a floor. These props count as a floor. It is anything that you can collide with. And so you can collide with like a water surface, you can collide with this ground, you can collide with this, but you can't collide with the air. And so that's why like the air is not considered ground, because it's like if gravity pulls you to it and it will stop you, it is considered ground.
Makes sense.
At least as far as I'm aware. There might be a programmer that's like, Nick, you're actually wrong about this one part. So yeah, to the best of my knowledge, I will say.
I have another question about the increase in speed boost if you have the Path of Fire masteries and the Visions of Eternity. Does that affect all maps or just VOE maps?
All maps. So the way the speed boost works, thank you for calling that as well, is that if you already have the Hover High mastery trained, we also wanted to give a little bit more value for that as well, since this can essentially affect the way that your hover gains height. And so if you have the Hover High mastery trained on the base skimmer from Path of Fire, and you get the Slipstream boost mastery with Visions of Eternity, the height that you can gain with Slipstream Boost and the speed are increased. So there's kind of like 2 tiers of it. There's the only VOE version, and then there's the VOE and POF version. So what we're also showcasing today is the VOE and POF version. So the other one is a little weaker, but not so much so that it's going to feel just significantly different. But like, you know, maybe instead of hitting this cliff, you would end up like right here, depending on the stamina drain and things like that. So it's a like, you definitely want to have both, but it's not going to make the use of Slipstream Boost completely useless if you don't have both.
Okay. And one last thing that you've demonstrated before, but we can demonstrate one more time. How smooth is the ley line transition from air to water?
I can show that, yeah.
The answer is very smooth.
Hopefully it's very smooth. I mean, it also depends on the trajectory of the ley line and the speed. And so, you know, depending on what ley lines you're using, it can make it a little bit, like, bumpy. But, yeah, we tried to make sure that it was smooth across the board. And so, what you see there is kind of what it should look like on launch.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap things up. Thank you so much, Nick. This has been very, very informative. I've seen a lot of good comments in the chat.
That's good.
Gang, make sure that keep your eyes peeled on all of our channels. We've got some great stuff coming up to tease the expansion. Remember, Visions of Eternity, our next expansion, launches on October 28th. You can pre-purchase now and get a whole bunch of goodies. They actually give you the goodies now in the live game. A lot of them are delivered immediately, like the mount skin we were showing off and the Commodore hat. Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to be doing some teases of some hairstyles that are going to be coming up. And in 2 weeks, I'm working on a blog that's going to be going out to talk about raids after Visions of Eternity launches. So some things to whet your appetite as we approach the final few weeks, counting down to Visions of Eternity. Nick, anything else you want to say? Thank you so much.
Thank you all for tuning in, and to those who are going to watch the VOD, hopefully you like it. I'm going to be staring at the forums to see how people feel about these things. So hopefully y'all like it, but if you don't, please don't hesitate to let us know. Always open to whatever feedback that we can get. And while we don't have much time to action on significant feedback, like your opinions do matter with this kind of stuff. Absolutely. So yeah, also shout out again to the player who made this, that gave it to us at PAX. And yeah,
awesome.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody.
That was a great call out. Our official forums are the best place to leave any feedback that you have. We do look at that feedback constantly. So please post over there and let us know what you think.
Actually,
thanks so much.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry, Richie. Yeah. I do have one more thing. I completely forgot. I also want to give a special shout out to Carl McLean. He actually, at the very beginning of the expansion, did like the earliest iteration prototype of the Skimmer, and he was the main designer for the Warclaw adjustments in Janthier Wilds. And so it's like, I just want to give him a shout out as well, because like we would not have been able to kind of find really the core fun in a lot of this without his experience and his knowledge. So yeah, he's an amazing designer. Just wanted to call him out too, because it takes a village for this kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Everything that you've seen, there's a whole bunch of people making this, and even just getting this live stream going. Like we have Summer behind the camera here, and so thanks to everybody involved in making the stuff we're showing for Visions of Eternity and setting up this live stream. I appreciate you, Nick, and I hope everybody out there has an amazing weekend, and we'll see you next time. Happy gaming.
Happy gaming.